All right, so we're on to the final page of your Constitution notes. So the first word on this page is supermajority. So there are certain times when regular majority, which is a simple majority, which a simple majority just means a little, like just over 50%. So 50.1%, 50.5%, 51%. Most elections are based on a simple majority. So somebody gets over 50%. And even some elections, if there's three people running for an office, depending on the situation, they don't even need to get a simple majority. They can win with 45% if that's the majority. They have the most votes. So a simple majority is over 50%. A supermajority, however, is over somewhere between 2/3. It can be all the way up to like 90%. But in the Constitution, when we talk about a supermajority in the Senate, it is a 2/3 vote. It is 67%. So there's a few things that require 67%, a supermajority. One of those specifically is to override a veto. So if the president were to veto a law, it takes a supermajority to overrule that veto. A veto is a formal rejection of a law passed by the legislature by the president. In California, the governor can also veto laws, but we're talking about the U.S. government, so it would be the president that could veto a law, and it's a formal rejection of a law that's been passed by the legislature. The legislature can then override that veto or remove the veto with a supermajority vote. Some other terms on this page: commander-in-chief. So the president is a commander-in-chief, which means that he or she is in charge of the armed forces of the United States, which include the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the Marines, the Coast Guard. Treason. Treason was one of the few crimes that was mentioned in the Constitution. So treason, a general definition, is basically the crime of betraying one's country. In the Constitution, to be convicted of treason, it would require 2 witnesses. In the Constitution, treason was defined as giving aid and comfort to the enemies of the United States, and it was originally punishable by death. And they actually wrote it in there in all caps. So they took and considered treason to be a very serious crime. And then finally, what does it mean to plead the fifth? To plead the fifth, and the fifth is referring to the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution in the Bill of Rights. And to plead the fifth means to refuse to answer a question, especially in a criminal trial, on the grounds or for the reason that you might, or the person who's pleading it, could incriminate themselves. So to make themselves guilty. So you have the right to remain silent. We all have the right to remain silent, to not incriminate ourselves. And when someone does that in court, or I've seen it happen in front of a Congress when they're called to testify, what they say is, I'm going to plead the fifth, or I'm going to use my Fifth Amendment right to remain silent. And that is all she wrote.